Hi, I'm Gary White for Channel 6, Central Kentucky Television. And today I have with me Yvonne McNary as our co-host for a segment on consigning. And I have with us Suzanne Wexler, who is a lifestyle expert and is going to tell us a little about consigning, because I think you said you've been covering this topic since 2009, since the recession in 2009. Absolutely. And as we all know, right now, a lot of people are still working from home, have been home isolating because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And they possibly have noticed that there's a lot of stuff in that house that they could get rid of that they might like to sell.
I know I have, Gary.
Yes. And they also might be looking for new ways to generate income because of situations that have occurred over the last few months too. So that's kind of some of the topics we're going to talk about today with consignment. And Suzanne, we're really glad that you're here with us today to talk about it.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to speak with you too.
So, Suzanne, tell us a little about consignment. We have lots of consignment shops in our area, but consignment shops fall into different kind of categories, right? Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about the various different types of consignment that people might experience?
Sure. There's more of a place, let's say a Goodwill or a Salvation Army, and this is definitely more on the thrift end, and you generally go and drop off bulk clothing and they'll give you a price for that. That's sort of the thrift end. And then it gets kind of more curated is sort of the word, where they become a little bit more label conscious, a little bit more style conscious. And that is generally a typical consignment shop will be like this. And a consignment shop like that can either sell furniture with it as well, or handbags and accessories and just stick to fashion. And within there, you can also have a vintage shop that really specializes in kind of old style clothing. So there's a range of consignment.
And so I guess
you have thrift.
Right. It would be important to identify which store kind of fits the kind of items that you're going to be consigning as well, I'd imagine, correct?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, if you don't have a lot of label clothes or with a very definable label, it might be more worth your while to sell them bulk at a Goodwill, or you can try a consignment shop and they'll go through them for you and let you know what they'll take and what you can take. Most likely, you might end up with a combination of places.
Now, Suzanne, how did you get started in consignment? I know you've been with it for a while and you stuck with it, so I guess it's working out for you.
Well, I have to say my consigning story predates 2009 when the story really hit. I was a journalist, and the reason I covered it in the first place is because when I was in high school, I just loved buying, thrift clothing, vintage, used T-shirts and whatnot. And then when the recession came in 2009, the whole industry and I covered it because it was very relevant then as it is now. The whole industry had changed, that it wasn't about finding that like cool vintage T-shirt anymore. It was really about, it had become so much more label conscious. And that's where the trends were. They wanted it to say Gap. They wanted it to say Banana Republic. And when I was into it back in high school, you wanted to get away from the Gap, away from Banana Republic. So it was fascinating to me how it changed. And this new industry that's label conscious is really where it's at now in terms of online retailers, much more stylized than it used to be.
So you were saying that, so when people are at home and they might be going through their closet and they find something that is a label that you're talking about, it doesn't matter if it's older or newer or something that's a few years old that they've never worn, but it still has a label on it. Is that still worth something? Is that worthwhile?
Yes, most likely. Some places, it depends on the store, but some places, if they're really, really picky, they'll want you to have bought it in the past 2 to 3 years, let's say. But generally speaking, something from, say, the Gap or Banana Republic with that label on it, Free People is a very popular label as well. Those will be accepted at most consignment shops now.
Well, I've noticed that some consignment shops will go for like the teens and some go for the older set, you know. So I'm sure that they have to choose different lines of clothing, different names are going to be prevalent in different areas. Is that correct?
Yes,
for
absolutely.
the brands.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, which you used to not have, I mean, in central Kentucky, you have a lot of consignment shops, and now there's online consignment shops that become very popular as well. It's sort of nice to go. There's a bit of an idea that where you sell your clothes, you'll kind of want to buy them also. I think that's kind of the spirit as well. So in the end, like kind of attracts like in this case.
Yeah, so in some instances, they'll give you an in-store credit
Exactly.
as an option. Now, when I go to a consignment shop, what are some things that I should look for? I mean, I don't want to go in and buy everything I see and then regret it later. What should I have? What should I determine before I even go into the consignment shop?
You should definitely know if you're looking for sort of a statement piece, like, you know, like a great coat or a dress, that a standout things. That's still, even though they've become more label conscious, that, like, you know, bright yellow coat that just has so much personality you can't find somewhere else. I mean, those are still the real gem finds you want to aim for there. Also, you can get a great deal, I would say, on suiting, like a blazer or something nice for work. You'd be very surprised about the great deals you could get. I would say that's where the biggest deals probably are, is in suiting, or a nice blouse, something for work as well.
Is there anything in a consignment store I shouldn't buy?
I like to recommend to stay away from anything like that people have sweat in too much, bacteria clothes, like leggings, athletic apparel, even sweatpants. Like, there's enough of those around that you don't necessarily, that available for less expensive, that it might not be worth your while to risk the bacteria when, you know, there's plenty of places around you could buy that inexpensive for.
Now, in this era of viruses, any idea how this is going to affect consignments? I know you worry about things being clean, not having any viruses attached to them. We know that viruses can live on substances and tables and chairs and handbags for a little while. So how should we be careful, and what is the store doing to protect us?
Well, they are generally, there is always a clean kit and a procedure you must go through to drop it off. And then if it's just a bulk clothing, I think they will double wash it as well. But they're very, very careful about making sure that if they accept items, that they're washed beforehand in a certain way, and handled accordingly. And it's generally a bit of a process by the time you drop them off and they're prepared to go on. So I'd be very surprised if someone just dropped it off and they put them on the shelf. It doesn't quite work as quickly as that.
Okay.
And a lot of stores are still closed. A lot of actual physical consignment shops are not even open yet. Like, many closed stores aren't necessarily open yet. So
here in Kentucky, we're fortunate that several businesses are starting to open up.
Yeah.
Yes, this week and next week. So, and the consignment shops are some of them that had the opportunity to do that with social distancing and certain requirements. But if people want to sell items with consignment, this is a way for them to potentially generate some revenue. Then right now, some people may be needing that as well. So how do you determine pricing on items that you consign? Is that something that you as the consigner do, or do you have the store do that? How does that traditionally work?
The store will know generally its value, and the way that it usually works, and this is not, again, with the bulk, this is with a consignment shop that's looking at the labels or looking at the condition or looking at the trend. So they will, at first the item will be priced at a certain amount, and then after, and you will be given a percentage depending on the store. Sometimes it's 50-50, not unusual for it to be 60-40 for the store. But it will be priced, let's say, at $20, and then after a few weeks, the price generally tends to drop to $18, and then $16, and so on and so forth until there's an agreement, say after a month has passed, or 3 months, or 6 months, depending on the shop, then the item is then returned to you.
Okay.
Now, what do you see the future of consignment as?
I see more people doing it. It is really extraordinarily popular among 20-somethings. And I'm talking like 20-somethings in New York City, 20-something in any town. It's becoming far, far more normal for this generation that was sort of raised on more of a quick trend cycle, and who are, into social media, Instagramming their outfits. So they tend to not want to rewear them as much. So a lot of shoppers now, you'd be amazed, are sort of a little bit more buy things that they can then put up for sale after. Mm-hmm. So and I know a lot of parents do this with children's clothes. There's an online store called Kidizen, and some parents just shop for these particular labels because they'll know that when their kids outgrow it in 6 months, that they could then sell it there. So that is becoming far, far, far more popular, how the actual shopper gets into the process.
Mm-hmm.
And you were saying that online is becoming even more popular for consignments as well. Is that true?
Yes. I mean, that industry is completely exploding. That's really driven, however, by the high-end sector. So there's luxury retailers like the Real, Poshmark, and then ThredUp is sort of a bit more mid-range, and these are really proving to be a huge alternative to, say, department store shopping. So you can get the same look for less, handbags, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we said, there are several different consignment stores in our area.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
Yes, so and some people will put certain items at one store, certain items at another. Do you recommend like spreading your items to various different stores? Do you recommend sticking to one store, developing a relationship? What would be your recommendation for the first-time consigner?
So sometimes there's certain consignment stores where you're known to the other, you become known for the clothes that you drop off. So Marie, who's a size 8, they'll call people who buy Marie's size 8 clothes with, a code name, and they'll be like, she just did a drop off, and people will come get the clothes. So you could really establish a relationship like that at a particular consignment store. Otherwise, it's really, if you want to be particular about it, you could, higher end things, lower end things there, and try your hand at eBay, what have you. But it's really about the effort that you're willing to put in it, because every single seller has its own, how much you have to wash it, what they're willing to take. So there's effort behind the sales here. It's not completely straightforward.
Okay. Interesting. And the more popular the brand, the more you'll be able to get for your item. Is that right? Yes. Generally speaking, at this particular moment, or if it's in style, like if it's, you happen to have a color, a shade of blue or shade amber is very popular right now, an orange kind of amber. If you happen to have something in that color, those might actually be popular right now, those kinds of things. Okay.
And you find go ahead, Yvonne.
Okay, for right now, what are some
exciting.
what are some of the most popular items? I know we have shoes, we have handbags, we've got dresses, blouses, jackets. We've got all kinds of wardrobe items. Which ones are the most popular in our consignment stores?
Definitely for the sellers, I think they like to have those, the it handbags.
Handbags.
I think the it handbags is where the buyer can get a deal. Everybody's happy when they get that discount handbag at the consignment.
Fantastic. You heard it first here on Channel 6.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, it sounds like consignment is more for ladies. Is that your or not?
No, it's becoming popular with men as well. Again, suiting, shoes, bags as well, like a briefcase.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Blouses, nice shirts. Yeah.
Very good. Well, that's just some great information. How about, we've been talking a lot about clothes,
Sure.
furniture. This
Mm-hmm.
furniture is also a big thing for consignment. Is that true?
It is very much. There's less furniture consignment stores, generally speaking.
Okay. And you just had to pick, again, it's finding the store that matches what you're trying to sell, basically.
Finding the store that matches, you have to haul it there. So I think because of bigger items like that, that's where you're getting into yard sales and things like that. Where are you really going to take one thing? And
Yeah.
again, a lot of it has to do with the effort that you're willing to put into it and the time that you're willing. So sometimes it's just easier to let's get it on the lawn.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, in Central Kentucky, in addition to having a lot of consignment stores, we also have a lot of people who do yard sales.
I love it.
Yes. So we talked a little about thrift stores, consignment stores, and yard sales, and all of them have their specific area that they are, why you would utilize them. So can you give us a quick little categorization as to when you may choose to do a yard sale as opposed to taking it to consignment, and when the item should go to thrift store?
Right. I think thrift, just as you said it, it's like a moving situation, and quick. Like you've got a lot going on. You need to go here, someone's moving into the house, out of the house. We need a spare room. I got it. Like that is truly when you want to call Goodwill or drop it off at Goodwill.
Right.
Or if it's just not kind of in that condition and you don't have much else to sell. A yard sale is lovely if you have other things and you have the community. And I don't know if many people are going to be doing yard sales now in the current situation. I think it's a by district case, I'm sure, and an individual case as well. But that's when you have more things, a lot of, kids growing up, and you're at a different life stage. You were in the kids are this young, and then, you're ready for them to grow up, or the teenagers are moving out of the house. So that I would say you would really want to do when you want to do a house refresh and a stage in your life refresh is, I think, what's great there. And then consignment, again, that's really when you're looking to monetize this the most.
Yes. Take advantage of what you have in your house to make some additional money.
Yes, exactly. And maybe get new things with it. Some people make careers off consignment, but I think a lot of the time, if you're able to just afford, next season's coats or school clothes for your kids, I mean, that's really great for a lot of people as well.
Yes, it is. Wow.
Do you find a lot with jewelry as well in consignments?
Sure. A lot. There's always a jewelry section. I don't know how quickly it moves, but
yeah,
you might find
what should you know before you get involved with a jewelry sale? Because I know quite often there are some stones and there is some glass. So how do you become discerning about what you're purchasing?
I think that's, again, you have to just sort of trust the store there. And if you have and if you're selling it and you think that it's worth a certain amount, you're going to want to have that properly appraised by someone before you just take a chance like that. I mean, if you know the consignor, I'm sure in your area there's lovely and everybody knows them. So I would imagine there's a certain amount of trust there already established. But they might not be an expert in knowing the difference between fine jewelry, in which case that's on you to have that properly appraised.
Okay.
And that again,
So I should do my homework.
Yeah. It does involve homework. Again, this is sort of why the dump off a bag is kind of appealing for some people. But if you're good at homework, you know, there's sky's the limit here.
Exactly. And there's some monies to be made. And we've been talking with Suzanne Wexler, who is a lifestyle expert, who's been sharing some information on consignment 101. Let's call it that. How's that sound?
Exactly.
And if you are looking for opportunities, there are several consignment stores throughout our Central Kentucky area that can hopefully hook you up and help you generate some additional revenue. Thank you very much for talking with us today, Suzanne.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed speaking with you.
It's been a lot of fun. This has been Gary.
Nice meeting you.
Yes, for Channel 6, Central Kentucky Television.